This is SaaS Therapy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of SaaS Therapy, the show where we help you save your most important business relationships, your customers. I'm Todd Kirk, your host. I'm joined by my ever-present compadre, Casey Trujillo, and today we are pumped to introduce a new guest, Justin Watt, who is the CEO and co-founder of Switchboard, and we are super pumped to have him on the show. Justin, welcome to SaaS Therapy.
Hello, and thanks for having me.
Justin, just so you know, Todd never says the word pump twice in a sentence, and he just did for you. That's how pumped he is for this episode.
I noticed too. It's not lost on me. I feel I was about to say I feel pumped now too, but I won't make it time.
So
it's all it takes.
And even threw out Spanish for you too. So I mean, he's just the red carpet is rolled out. So Justin, I always like to let someone give a little bit of background of why you're an expert, why someone should listen to you. So why don't you give us a quick little background of your expertise, why you're coming as a guest and as an expert, and then I'm going to dive into my first question. So a little bit about you, a little bit about your company, what you're trying to do, and then I'm going to dive into our first question for today.
Sure. Yeah, I have worked in tech and in SaaS kind of product creation, design, and development for some time. So started the career at IBM of classical software development, and then moved to a product design and development firm called MetaLab, where we got to design products with help design Slack, and got to work with Uber and Amazon and some old colleagues today were texting their excitement of like, hey, our case study for redesigning Robinhood just launched. So getting to work in the heart of building all of these tools for many years was great. But then moved into the operations side of helping scale that firm up. And then founded Switchboard, which we're trying to combine those things of how do we help kind of those small to largely mid-market businesses adopt the right tools for themselves. So a lot of what we do is build custom software, and we are building AI, however you want to interpret that. We can chat about it a bit more for people. But a lot of what we do too is helping them assess what they need technologically. And a lot of that is, well, this is our tech stack right now. This is the SaaS we have. This is what we love about it. This is what we don't like about it. And so a lot of the conversations is about kind of, we're almost becoming that voice of the customer without any preconceived notions about what they should or shouldn't use. We want to understand how they operate as a business and then what's best for them. So that's fantastic. What we do.
Okay, so today you are coming because as you know, our audience is SaaS customer success managers, CROs, CCOs, customer education teams, right? Everybody that deals in SaaS. So you're representing the voice of these customers that are buying these solutions that have some of these AI tool sets inside of their applications, and you're going into that customer and helping them. So Justin, I'm going to give you a real story, not going to mention any names, and then I want you to help these SaaS organizations that are listening today really understand what this direct customer is trying to tell me. So I Brainstorm, we're a company that helps with change and enablement, and one of the customers that I was working with is a state and local company. So we're even going to get out of like commercial. We're going to go into state and local, okay? Because if it hits there, that means we've hit the bottom of the barrel, right? So I'm working with this client, and I'm helping them to better understand how they can better adopt the Adobe suite. Okay, so Adobe, great product, wonderful, fantastic. And they have an AI tool called Adobe AI Assistant, which is phenomenal because we all deal with PDFs and maybe RFPs. And in an instant, it can help you understand, okay, this is what the RFP is about. This is what you should maybe ask as you go out. Like their AI Insight tool is awesome, AI Assistant. So I mentioned that to this county, and they go, hey, Casey, that's awesome. I'm glad you're trying to push that. But just so you know, we're currently, as a risk team, as an IT team, as a security team, we're reviewing 25 different AI tools that have come out in like applications like Adobe that we use today, but everyone came out with their own AI module. And so we're trying to understand which ones do we want to use, which ones don't we want to use. So as much as we love Adobe, I don't know if this is going to make the list anytime soon. Justin, is that a common scenario? And help our SaaS people understand that, as great as your AI tool is, you're not the only AI tool out there, and people are really trying to understand which tool when, what makes sense for us, what overlaps, what doesn't overlap. Is that right, wrong? Is that the state of these direct customers and the confusion that they're dealing with right now?
I think the thing that we're seeing across clients is like they're having a hard time deciding who should be the decision maker. And given any company, if the decision maker is the technical person, well, what does the security look like? What does compliance look like? Are they SOC 2 certified? What's going to happen with this data? By the time they get to what is our use cases and what are we actually going to use this for? How are we going to roll it out? If people are going to change their process for it, they think, oh, well, we covered all the compliance stuff. Like this is the tool. It covers all of our needs. No one thought to ask the internal team of like, okay, are we going to use this effectively? Do we know how to use this? But then the opposite end of the spectrum I'm seeing too of, you put a departmental head, a chief of a department that's not technical in charge of the decision making. By the time they say this is the one, all the use cases, then it goes through the technical side and this meets none of our security requirements. And like, so I've found it tends to be, in my experience, a lot of C-suites are going to their teams and mandating we need AI without taking a step back and saying who needs to be at the table for defining what we need to do with it, defining what the options are, and defining what our decision is. And so you're having these people scramble last minute because no one thought to include, the left hand talking to the right of what is our use case and is this going to meet our needs? So that's a large
nuggets already, Todd Kirk. Nuggets already off of just that. Just I got to ask a quick follow up. Are you seeing a name for this committee? Are people saying, hey, we're hiring a chief of AI implementation, or I don't know, is there any knowledge you can help our customers
how
understand
people are
on this?
How do you navigate this? I guess.
Yeah. The ones I've seen do it most successfully is where they put, for lack of a better word, a business person in charge, not a technical person in charge of this. Because I have found that most people are still trying to understand what is even possible, and they get lost in the sauce very quickly. That list of 25 probably never should have been 25. My hunch is that list of 25 became 25 because they don't actually know what they want. And so working backwards from what is the business case for this, or your buyers or your audience, I should say, might think of it, and buyers might think of it as what is the business case. But at the end of the day, it's like, what is the use case for this? Regardless of if we can make a business case for that or not, how are we going to use this? Is this, we had a client I was on the other day and he was evaluating a few different options and he was like, I don't want any of these. Like these are 3 companies we've been working with. They've had 20 years to figure this out. And they think adding a chatbot at the bottom right of the corner of every screen is our AI solution. Like they've never actually solved our need as a SaaS company. Why do I think because they've all pivoted to being AI first that they're suddenly going to figure this out for us? So this is my moment in time to say, let's just build something custom. Like I don't trust them to figure this out. So that's what it's coming down to is like business people are kind of making the calls of like, what is our use case? And that's what I found most successful. When someone very technical who's not, call it adept at the business needs is trying to make decisions, then it just drags out and no decisions are made.
That's another really good nugget there. I think so many of the people that I talk to are that they're so eager to prove to their customers that they are an AI first company that they're just throwing stuff at the customer that the customer doesn't actually doesn't pass the sniff test for them at all, which I think is a really important point there, Justin.
Well, and the other part of it too is how is this going to be rolled out? Like I'm seeing so many customers saying, oh, well, you're helping us build XYZ, but we've got a solution with SaaS over here and they're going to be the AI for marketing or whatever it might be. But then they go to roll it out and it's like giving a 16-year-old who just got their learner's permit the keys to the car and being like, good luck, and not taking that moment to be like, we should show them how to parallel park and when to use their signal and how to shoulder check. Like they're just equating having an AI feature and someone signing up for it as a win. But the churn is just obscene because no one's thinking ahead of. A lot of these people are actually fundamentally changing how they work and how they have worked for 10, 15, 20 years. So that change management part is just wildly overlooked.
Well, and it is as somebody personally who is, when I first started using AI, and I think most people feel this way, I would say the average end user who's not a technical person, who's a business user, a lot of them are just kind of using AI like as a shortcut to do stuff, right? They're not using it as a way to transform the way they work and do things totally differently or have the AI do stuff for them. It's more like, well, I want to do the thing I always did, but I want to do it with a little bit less steps, or I want to help me find stuff easier, that kind of thing. But AI can be way more transformative than that. And I'm curious, at least from my perspective, when I look at the different approaches that a customer could take with AI, right? They could use the features that a SaaS vendor provides to them. They could go directly to the AI companies directly, right? They're going and they're just going to go buy licenses to Anthropic or to OpenAI and just use ChatGPT and Claude and just give people that. Or they might be, it sounds like in your case, a lot of times they're building their own custom models, their own custom agents. They're trying to build out their own solutions from the ground up, just using the LLMs as the back end and then building their own custom stuff on top of it. What do you think are you seeing all of those things happen simultaneously? And if so, which one do you think customers feel like where there's the most value for them today? Is it like the software vendor is going to take the burden off me and just give me the solution I want, versus I'm going to go build my own solution, versus I'm going to just kind of like give my people tools and hope they figure it out? You know what I mean? Like, which of those three is it?
Yeah, I think the trend in where I see our clients the most receptive to like a SaaS off the shelf provider providing some sort of AI functionality is, does this fit in the company workflow, like the departmental or company workflows? Because a lot of them are saying, you got to use our stuff. This has to be your new source of truth. You got to move your whole company in here for it to be effective. And as soon as I convey that, if a client doesn't understand that, they're like, never mind. Like, that's not how we work. We'll never work that way. The businesses are built off the back of one CRM that has maybe half the information that should be actually filled out. And then someone exports something and goes into a spreadsheet and does something in their department. And then they send that spreadsheet to someone else and they bring it into another SaaS app to do their thing. Like, the more that a company can say, we are in the middle of your workflow in some way where we can take inputs through APIs, integrations, whatever it might be, and give you the outputs in a way that will be useful in other apps if needed. Because very rarely, a customer success is a good example of what I often see, where someone is saying, we've got AI features, but we are a closed ecosystem. And so, well, if a customer comes in with a question, you still have to go to another tool to figure out what's their, usage history, what is their billing cycle, what is their basic data of when they signed up, like all of this kind of stuff. If you are forcing someone to be a system of record or use your software as a system of record, they tend to shut down. So it's those who kind of like understand that AI is a multiplayer game, not a single player game within a business.
Man, so much. And it's like when he described that Excel and CRM, he's like, he watched my department work, like he had eyes somehow into how I work every day.
Well, it's
data everywhere.
I think that's why
But anyways,
people have an excitement around, like, they want this stuff, they're dying for it. Cause like we all grew up with the dream of astronaut, doctor, lawyer. No one grew up with the dream of emailing Roy in finance for the 9th time to say, is this invoice paid? Because AI can't just tell them because they're these closed ecosystems. So yeah.
So good. So Justin, here's my question. Let's go to that customer success manager. They have a new AI module that came out. They feel it's a potential fit for their customer. I want to explain to my point of contact how valuable this is going to be, right? So the CSM's prepping for the call. What are some best practices, maybe do's or don'ts, that you're going to give to this customer success manager as they're going to try to encourage this customer to investigate and review their AI tool? Now, I know this is hard because I'm not giving you a specific SaaS platform or anything like that, but just in general, maybe what would be some things that as a CSM I'm coming into this call with? What are some things I should do and what are some things I definitely shouldn't do? And one of them I heard just recently that you say is, hey, you're not the end all be all, right? So what are some best practices you might give to that CSM that he or she is trying to have that conversation with?
Yeah, we have a client in the legal space. I guess I won't name the company unless you guys ask me to, but they came out of a demo session before they signed up, and this was with an account manager and who would be their CSM. And they had 3 meetings with them, and they said, "We're signing up. This is the best ever." Because the first meeting was, "What's your use cases?" And granted, this was a bit more of a sales process than someone's already a client. But I think it speaks to people don't. If your intention of that call, to answer your question, I guess more directly first, is to show them your chatbot and how you can interact with your data that's already in the platform, people's eyes are glazing over if that's the demo of like, here's the new AI feature. Do you want this module? If you spend the time with them, and what in this case, this example, to ask them, what is your use cases? This is some of the features at a high level. What do you think your use cases might be? That's all that session was. The next session was, we have tailored a session to show you how our product will function for your specific use cases. And so that connective tissue is what people are looking for, to see their actual usage. Because I think so many people are still not conceptually understanding And people who work in tech and work in SaaS, they have this like, oh, this has been our roadmap for 12 months and we understand how this works. And they take for granted that a lot of their end users have no concept of how AI is supposed to function in their business or their own individual job. So really like understanding how they would potentially use this and showing that to them instead of just, here's the features. Do you like it? Do you want to sign up for it kind of thing? And then the other part of that is if all you really have to show is a chatbot, like you need to go back to your internal product team and tell them to do better because they're already burnt out on hearing another pitch about a magical AI module that really is just what was revenue this month, and it'll summarize some data points from inside the app.
Yeah. Okay, Justin, this is really good wisdom because I actually think a lot of the SaaS companies that I talk to, they're probably really struggling with this, especially people even on the product side who are going and building this out because the mindset is you're buying my application. And so if I am actually just selling you a pathway to get that data other places, well then does my application matter? And how do I then support that model and the payment of you wanting to continue to subscribe to me? So all of my AI features have to be built centered on making me look better rather than helping you solve your problem. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like that's the fear or the angst that a lot of SaaS companies feel. So like, how do you overcome that? Because like, I would guess there's a lot of companies that aren't building MCPs yet or aren't actually thinking about creating connective tissue of their application into other tools. Like how you tackle that problem and and that also feels daunting because they don't know if their customers are ready to understand the concept of an MCP and using their APIs and all this kind of stuff. Like that sounds scary, I would guess. So how do you help a SaaS company then reimagine that perspective so that they're better able to support the customer and the outcomes they're hoping for and the magic sauce that they believe, now AI is going to make me into an astronaut for the first time, which I've had that feeling directly as a user. Right. And so how do you help the person who is supposed to be delivering solutions to their customer overcome that mind blocker and that barrier?
I think painting a picture of where it's going, and this is hard to do for everyone right now because, Claude's bi-daily announcement of whatever new feature they're releasing, lights Twitter afire to say, oh, this, Y Combinator batch was just wiped out in one day with one new Claude feature. Like that's part of the messy middle that we're in, and we probably will be for the next year or two, is like, there is no right answer and there is no magical answer to this because everyone is figuring it out. The frontier model builders all the way down to startups that, were founded and got their first funding a week ago kind of thing. So I found being able to paint the picture to those business people of like, yes, right now, MCP, we probably want to bring someone technical in to help set this up for you effectively, but this is quickly being solved for with XYZ. Most people don't even know that the SaaS they're using for years has an API, but if it's set up properly, that API is being used aggressively. But most people don't know that. And so I think it's the same right now for, yes, you have to do a bit more prompt engineering, so to speak, to get it to function how you want, or we're going to pull in your technical team to help set up the MCP so you can set it and forget it and your data is ingested from other places. I think this overwhelm of abbreviations and hype right now is leading a lot of people to think that I just need to say the words MCP in my call and they'll think that we've solved it. And it's like, no, you need to paint the picture of like, yes, we don't love this either, but this is like how you can currently functionally use it really well. And yeah, that's only getting better. And MCP will be an afterthought that you'd never even hear about, a year or two from now, if that makes sense.
Just it almost sounds like if I was a CSM, I'm starting a conversation. I'm understanding first. Maybe my first questions are, hey, tell me a little bit about the team there at your organization that decides how AI is going to get implemented and used. Do you have a team? What does that look like? What is the information that they're looking for as they consider options? Do you use partners to help you with this? Do consultants come in and walk through this with you? Because what we want to do is create a strategy where the business is aligned, IT's aligned, you're aligned, and make sure that if we're going to roll out an AI tool like what we're offering to you, that it's connected to everywhere. Justin, is that a right approach? Am I saying that right, wrong? What would you change to that? Because I think what we need to help the customer do is what you're doing at a great company and founding this is you're trying to help everybody play together and understand how all the parts work together. And as a CSM leader or an AE, I should be helping my customer think the same way that you're getting them to think. that's not what I can do. I only do my product. So you have to bring in these committees. You have to bring in these consultants to really get the full value of what you're trying to accomplish. So people aren't stepping on toes. We don't have six AI tools that do the same thing. Is that right? What would you add to that? Take away from that? What would you double down on with that comment?
Yeah, I think a lot of the clients that we work with, they bring us in because they are sick of being sold to. So to your point, a lot of those questions are, what's your buying committee like? Who's the decision maker? Not do you have a decision maker, and what are they looking for? What is the actual thing they're trying to solve for? Because is the mandate AIify the company, or is the mandate, hey, our sales process is brutal, and that's because we've over engineered it and it's administratively heavy and every process moves super slow. And so if we could get time back and avoid, 30 of the 60 steps that happen, and these are small minuscule steps, but like getting to that level of detail and saying, what are you actually solving for? That's what we spend the first 4 to 6 weeks with clients doing, of like, how does the business currently function? And therefore, these are the areas of opportunity that could be helped with SaaS off the shelf, something custom, whatever it might be. And I think people just jump straight to, okay, the sales playbook here is find out the buying committee, find out who's the decision maker, get them on a call, sell them on the features we already have, versus who's the buying committee? Can we talk to them about what they're trying to solve for and then play back what we heard? So it's that classic consultative sales process, but I think a lot of SaaS companies treat it as, no, we've got a playbook, get this person on the phone, show them the features, do a demo, hopefully they like it and we'll close. Versus this era that we're in, like people need to be able to share the pain points that they're looking to solve for. They're not looking for a solution, usually not looking for a solution just to tell their CEO, yes, we've got some AI in our company now. They're actually looking for meaningful improvement.
Okay, that's another really good one there. And I think what I feel like a lot of the SaaS companies that I talk with are struggling with is they don't even know how to approach that conversation to begin with. And so I think that's why Casey's like, well, how should a CSM say this, right? Like, how should they bring this up?
Yeah.
And especially if that's not how they're used to selling. That's not how they're used to approaching this. And as a result, the only thing they know to do is like, I don't want my customer to think that I'm an old thing that they can discard because I'm not going to be valuable in 6 months, or they can build it all themselves with their own vibe coded application internally, and they're not going to need me anymore. Like, that's terrifying. So how do I approach that to help them feel confident that I'm innovative and we're on the AI bandwagon, we're moving forward, but also, do it in a way that aligns to what they're trying to go to. So I feel like I might be teeing you up to repeat what you just said. So I don't want to do that, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe there's something, an example would be awesome. That might help us out. Yeah.
So an example is a legal team. It's not a legal company, but a legal team we were working with inside of an organization. They were evaluating much tools to help streamline their legal process. And they handle, very long story short, dozens of leases per month for properties that they are landlords of. Essentially, they're a commercial property real estate investment firm. They were evaluating all these and they couldn't make a decision for months. They heard the pitches, they heard the demos. We came in for a couple of weeks and said, show us your entire process. Like, walk us through from when you get a new lease to when it's done. Turns out the biggest challenge that they have, that we were able to help them solve for, because no one thought to ask them the question of, show us your actual process. Because they are commercial real estate and, let's say Starbucks wants a space and Lululemon wants a space. These are giant corporations that are not saying, oh, you just send us your paperwork. They send you the lease and say, this is where you sign. So none of the legal companies that they're evaluating thought to ask, well, how do we have AI automatically figure out if everyone's lease agreements are different, who needs to sign and where on the paper? And so they were saying, we can solve this, but it still needed all this administrative work for someone to go through every lease and say, okay, for this lease, we have to put the signature block here and here and here. And we solved for that in 2 weeks of building something. It was an agent that goes in and looks at it and says, here's who needs to sign where and when. And they said, forget it to all the SaaS, because no one thought to sit down and say, how are you actually using this? And that was the thing that they cared the most about.
Amazing. Just another nugget. That was fantastic. I fear that I do that all the time. I just don't do the simple things and have them walk me through that. That was so good.
This is Casey's. If you don't realize, you're right. Casey's the guy on the sales side. So now he's like, am I a terrible salesman? You're making him have an existential crisis here, Justin. I think that's what's going on.
I think it's I think it's a decade plus of SaaS companies feeling like, hey, we know our customers and we're building the right solution, but they're trying to build to a general audience, not for each person's unique
Yeah,
solution. And so I think
right.
just that moment of like, what are you looking for? Not, we think we have the solution, here's a demo of it. It's the other way around of show us how you do it, and we'll tell you if we have that. And if we don't, we can have a discussion about what that looks like of getting on the roadmap or whatever it might be.
That is so good. So Justin, let's keep on moving with this topic of AI, which is just so fascinating. You work with your customers, you help them in implementing a software tool that's already pre-built off the shelf. You might build something for them. What's the need of change management in all this? Either whether you build something custom, you take something off the shelf. Is there a need for change management, adoption, training? I know you gave an example of a kid getting a 16-year-old getting that, but is it really that needful? Is it needful for just the older generation like myself, and we're going to die out soon anyways, and so you just got to hold on for 3 more years, and then you got all the young people that know how to do this? What's your take on this? What should people be thinking about in this regard?
Yeah, I'm surprised more SaaS companies don't take the approach that they take internally when they're building a product, when they're rolling it out with new customers. So we treat it like we're building a product for them, regardless of if it's a SaaS where we're helping them implement or it's something custom we built. Um, is get them in early and do demos as you're setting it up or you're implementing something. Like if you understand their process, then you can bring them in for, hey, we're implementing it. Here's the demo of it. And then you move into testing with a broader audience. And then you define from there, like, okay, what are the gaps that aren't clicking for people? And we need some sort of, custom live training or a Loom recording and walking through the process, whatever it might be. The change management is when we share proposals with clients, they're always like, whoa, this is longer than everyone else is estimating us. And they're like, are they estimating for change management? Well, no, they said they'll do some training. It's like, well, I bet, it's the keys to the 16-year-old kind of thing. So I don't think people are taking it nearly seriously enough, but I think it's low hanging fruit to treat it like you do building a product itself. Is you don't just come up with the idea, write a PRD, give it to an engineer and designer and say, ship it. You demo it with certain people, you test it, you refine it, and then you roll it out. And I know a SaaS offering is meant to be already built and you roll it out. But that approach of like making people feel involved in the change management instead of you have a 1 hour calendar invite on your meeting appeared and you have no concept of what you're about to get into, and they roll up and say, we're rolling this out today. You're going to get a license after this call, and this is a 1 hour training. Good luck. By the time you get to that, you should be able to speak very deeply to how they will use this, how it'll be different for them, et cetera. And a lot of, I think, SaaS companies, again, because they're trying to solve for the lowest common denominator to grow the user base, they just treat training and change management as, we get it, you should too.
And unfortunately, that is commonplace. I remember once back in the day, I used to do like live training, like in person. And one of the things that's also funny is like, so it's so common, especially for a sales rep or a CSM in the SaaS world, they want their product to be so easy. Like it's like so easy, you can just pick it up and everybody can use it right away. And what's funny about that is like, well, I've had people have their minds blown about the fact that you can press Control B to bold text in a Word document, like it. And if that's something that like I didn't know I could do that, and I always had to spend time with my mouse to move up, and now all of a sudden you saved me a bunch of extra seconds. Like that could be transformative for me if I'm doing something like that repetitively over and over again. And AI has the potential to do that on like an exponentially huger fold. And so to like kind of downplay it as if like it's really easy, what the danger of making something sound super, super easy all the time is that you're also undercutting the potential value. Because everybody knows that the more valuable it is, the more complexity potentially is going to be introduced. And so for me, I'm curious, in your experience on the side of supporting customers who are trying to go through change management, what's the biggest hurdle for the end user with AI adoption on your side? Is it fear that they're going to be putting data into a system they shouldn't, and so they need to understand like what's okay and what's not okay? Is it a failure to know how to engineer prompts whenever they're working directly in an AI LLM, or is it something totally different? Like where are the gaps where you feel like change management is most commonly needed with a customer who's trying to figure out how to adopt a new solution?
Yeah, I would say like we can get all the buy-in from the world, from the people who understand, this is what we're trying to achieve. This is how we're going to achieve it. This is how we will function. But there's a very big gap between, a core stakeholder group who's say a buying committee for a SaaS versus the 100, 1,000, 10,000 people that have to use it day to day. And so I think that huge gap is where companies don't spend the time rethinking like we get it, so therefore everyone else will. So that change management, again, going back to easing people into it, the as a human in emotion, to answer your question, the biggest fear I see is just fear of change. A lot of people are very comfortable in the way that they do work, and this more often than not is a paradigm shift. So getting them comfortable in the first place and assessing what it means to change for them. A lot of people, like we try to grade those who are doing change management with at the kind of school grade level, like what is their technical capability? Are they a 101 level, a 201 level, a 301 level? Like most companies who are building SaaS, they take for granted that most people in the company know what AI can do and that there's different LLM providers and what an MCP is. Most companies sell it, most buyers of B2B SaaS, like the most impressive technical person in their company can build a pivot table in Excel. That is like the pinnacle of impressive technical capabilities in their company. And so that gap again goes back to, well, if that is the high bar, therefore we should probably take a bit of a different approach versus if we're rolling this out to a fellow technology company, maybe they already understand all this. So understanding that the fear of change is probably the most overriding emotion that I see, and then meeting them where they are of, yes, this will change, but this is why it'll be better for you and how it'll be better for you. Then it becomes easier. I've yet to see many people scared of throwing, for better or for worse, throwing in private data in there or thinking their job's going to be eliminated. Like there's always work left to do. And most people are saying like, this will help me accelerate my work, but there's still a million things that keep growing the to-do list.
So Justin, I'm going to have you be a SaaS prophet here. Help these SaaS organizations, prophesy to them. What do they need to change to stay relevant over the next 3 to 5 years? Because one of the things that was fast, I was talking to my brother-in-law just yesterday.
He has a lot of confidence in you, Justin. He's setting you up, man.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law is like, I don't, he's just, there's two of them, him and his, and a partner. And he's like, we're building out applications so fast. Like, I don't need all these other tools that I thought I used to need. And it's just amazing. And he's basically what he used to buy in the past. He's like, I don't need to buy that stuff anymore. Like, I don't need all this other SaaS software. I can just go build it myself and it's more tailored to me. So I don't need it to be doomsday, but I do want to give some warning out to our audience of, hey, as AI is just getting better and better and better. I think, Todd, you were showing me, what was that website? Was it Claude's website? You were showing me the death certificate that you could type
Death
in
by
an
Claude.
application.
I don't know if you've seen that.
Claude.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Justin, give some warnings out to the audience here of like, this is what you need to be thinking about. And I know they are, but from your perspective, again, you're coming from the customer perspective around this. You're having these conversations with direct customers. What are one or two warnings that you might give out to the audience today?
Yeah, I think the thing that having helped and be a part of building SaaS companies, or not companies, products, I should say, for a long time, I am woefully unimpressed and worried about SaaS not taking it seriously enough of what, to be very Canadian for a sec, of skating where the puck is going. Not everything. There's very few companies doing AI well in their product in SaaS. I would say a good North Star for a lot of people is Notion. You can tell that they are skating to where the puck is going because it's not just here's a chatbot and you can ask some questions about it. And I know that's belittling a lot of the great work that SaaS companies are doing, but the majority of them are still in that era of like, oh, AI first for us means that sparkle emoji and you open it and ask some questions. It is very obvious to me how this is going to play out at this point, where very high performers will have a legion of folks known as agents doing things for them. I think the analog is if you say we're NASA and we want to go build a rocket scientist or a rocket, you don't ask one rocket scientist to do it. You hire one of the best rocket scientists and give them a team. So build for that rocket scientist because that's where the puck is going. Building for every person in the company can come in and ask about something in a chatbot is not where AI is going. That's what feels real right now. But I don't think a lot of SaaS companies are realizing like this agentic approach is very real and it is here. It is not some far off hyperbolic theory like it was even only a year ago. And that's how quickly things are moving. But that is how quickly yeah, how quickly things are moving. And I don't think most SaaS companies realize that of like you are solving for the rocket scientists and their team, or just the rocket scientists. The team is going to be AI. You're not solving for their team.
Yeah, I think that is so true. And I really, Casey set you up. I thought it was actually a really great answer because the fact is, in other words, you can't think of it as like, hey, like SaaS, the model of how you charge might not go away, right? Like the concept of ARR and recurring revenue, that's probably something that might still exist, but the way that you go to market and the way you serve your customer has to change pretty dramatically in the way that you're serving them. And if you treat AI as if it's just like a new way to deliver the same thing you always
Yeah.
delivered, then you're going to fail, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to think differently or you're just going to miss the boat entirely. Like you're not, the example that I heard a colleague use in a meeting recently that I really liked actually was like you can't think of AI as like a faster car on a road. It's a helicopter, right? You're bypassing all of the things that you've traditionally done historically. So don't be thinking of like I'm going to give them a faster car. No, it's like you're giving them a rocket ship, or you're giving them a helicopter. You're giving them a completely different mode of transportation. That's not tethered to the road and has to follow the same rules that you've always followed. So you have to think about that totally differently.
Yeah, the paradigm shift I keep hearing most people chat about is like, this feels like the internet bubble era and whatnot. It's like, no, this is when PCs came into the workforce paradigm shift. Like, can you imagine having a typewriter and printing everything on paper and mailing it snail mail to people? Like, why on earth would you do that? At the time, it made the most sense in the world. And then the personal computer came along and it was a complete paradigm shift in how individuals worked, how companies worked, how the world now works. Like, globalization is off the back of PCs and the internet. And this is that kind of paradigm shift. It's not, yeah, to your point, a little, well, let's just give you a faster car. It's a different way of working. And I think the SaaS companies that will do the best in this era are the ones who show and model what that looks like and bring their customers along for the ride and help them instead of just saying, do you want this? Do you want that? No? All right, let's try something else. So,
Okay, man, that's good.
That was
Justin,
great.
we're basically at time. And Casey, I thought you were going to ask our last question, but
No, no, no.
you were caught in a daze, I guess, after
Well,
that.
no, you gave your question that wasn't a question statement, and so that I didn't know if you're going to ask another question because you said a
This is,
statement and then it wasn't a question, and then Justin
as
answered
you
it
can
as if
tell,
it was a
Justin,
question.
we are terrible podcast hosts, obviously.
you're an old married couple. I love to watch it.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
So true.
But all right, well then I'll take it, Justin. So this
Todd married me for my money.
I thought it was the good looks, but to each their own. All right, whatever.
Whatever. I'm the trophy. It's fine.
Yeah,
So,
obvious.
okay, so Justin, our final question that we always ask our guests. This has been a therapy session, right? For us, I don't know if you can tell. Casey and I, we live and or see this a lot. We experience it directly, being a SaaS company ourselves too. But as a therapy session, every good therapy session ends with a homework assignment, right? You got to do something different. You got to go and change. How do you address this? So remember, our audience is primarily people in the SaaS world. A lot of them are trying to think about change management, or they're trying to think about customer success, or they're trying to think about implementation or sales or whatever it might be. What homework assignment could you give our audience to help them reimagine how they're going to talk about AI, how they're going to approach AI, how they're going to sell differently, support their customers differently, whatever that might be? I know I just made that really big by adding a whole bunch of extra layers to it.
Yeah.
But what you give somebody homework, like
Yeah.
just one simple homework thing to do something different, what would it be?
I would encourage. The best conversations I've seen have been pressure testing AI committees and councils and companies. And so any CSM or anyone in sales and SaaS who has the opportunity over the next while to chat with anyone at an executive level who is making these decisions is to ask them, what does success look like to you here? And not let them get away with, oh, better margins, higher revenue. Like, get very tactical and find cordial, tactful ways to push them on it. But like, what actually changes in your company? And that will usually tell you a lot. Either they don't have an answer and it's up to you to help them define it, or they're telling you what you actually need to hear to be able to, whether it's close business or improve their, happiness with your product. Really pressure testing, like, what does success look like to you here, and not letting them get away with revenue up and to the right can't be the answer. And you'll learn a lot that way, I think. So that would be my homework to everyone.
Love it. All right, Justin. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming, and thanks, everybody, for being with us. As always, new episodes every Wednesday. Justin, if people want to get a hold of you, where do they find you? Look you up, Justin Watt, W-A-A-T-T on LinkedIn, or how do they find you? What's the best way?
Nailed it. I think it's Watt Justin on LinkedIn, so it's a bit backwards. And then Switchboard with switchboard.com, and I'll leave it there.
SaaS Therapy is brought to you by Brainstorm, the SaaS platform for SaaS adoption. Learn more at brainstorminc.com.